Final Cut Pro is Apple's professional level, non-linear, non-destructive video editing software. It offers the most advanced organizing tools of any professional video editing application. This video is for complete beginners with zero experience in the use of Final Cut. By the end of the tutorial, you will learn how to download and install the software, how to create a library, how to create an event and project. You will also learn the general overview of the platform, how to do basic video editing with Final Cut, how to add B-rolls, text, transitions, and effects. You will equally learn how to adjust speed and add music to your Final Cut Pro footage. You will also learn how to do color grading and finally export your videos in different formats using Final Cut Pro. So without taking much of our time, let's get started. Alright, so to download and install Final Cut, all you need to do is to come to your browser over here and just type apple.com/Final Cut Pro. Okay, so you can see it just like this. I'll put this whole link in the description. And once you're here, you can just come all the way to try it. You can give it a try if you want, and you can buy directly. But then if you want to try, you can try for 90 days and you'll be given access to the latest version of Final Cut to do all your basic editings. And this is very, very effective. You can find it extremely useful if you can try this for 90 days. After 90 days, then you can consider subscribing and buying the full package. So you can just go ahead and download and install it on your PC. So I will see you on the other side. So once you've installed the Final Cut, you can just come all the way to your gallery over here or the Launchpad, and you can see it over here, Final Cut Pro. So you just click on it and you'll be welcomed with this very screen. So this is a complete blank screen where you have the different features which I will explain in very brief. For example, here you have the library panel. Okay, this is where you create your library, and the events as well as the projects all are housed over here. Okay, and then this is where you have the media bin. Okay, whatever you import, you find it over here. And then over here, you are going to see this is the preview panel. Okay, where you will see the preview of all the video you are editing, all the footage you are editing. You will be able to preview and play over here with it. And then the next one here is the effects and controls of all the features you are editing. You will be able to find the effects and control on most of the properties that you can edit accordingly as you proceed with your video editing. And down here, all we have here is the timeline. This is where you bring in the media and then play around with it with the playhead, and I'll show all this in detail as we move on. So next is we have these photos and videos. You'll be able to showcase the photos, videos, and the music that you have over here, or you can check out the title as well as the generators over here. So there are a bunch of them. There are titles, 3D, 360, and credits, elements, lower thirds. You'll be able to see most of them, and as you hover over any of them, you'll be able to see the preview over here. Okay, so these are titles and these are generators. Later I will show you in details how to use all this. We need to create a library to start our project afresh. So there are two ways to create a library. You can come to file over here and come to new and just go ahead and click on library. So you just click on library and it's going to prompt in the default location or the last location you attempted to save a project on Final Cut. So you need to specify location wherever you want to save it. You can just go ahead. I want to save mine in this Final Cut and I want to give it a name. Let's say we'll give it a name tutorial 2. So this is the library I'm trying to create, tutorial 2. You just click on save. And it has created our library over here. So usually by default, it comes in with library and then we have the event. Okay, so you have the event. If you don't want this event that it's created, you can create an event by just right clicking over here and say new event or new project. So events are housed under library, under a specific library. You can have series of events, and under any given event, you can have different kind of projects. So that's how they are arranged in Final Cut. Right now we have this as our own event. We can decide to create a new one, or we can decide to rename this one if you want. But then let's say we'll go ahead and create a new event by just right clicking over here, or you can come still to the file and then new, and then you can say new event. You can just click and then you can give it a name. So the default is it takes in the date and the date of that particular project that you are working on. So you can just give it a name. So let's call it spending some time with yourself. So this is the video I'm trying to edit here. So you can specify this event is under which library. So if you have a multiple library, you'll be able to select and just save it under that particular library. And then you can create a new project on this if you want. But then let's say we'll take it step by step. Right now, I want to create this event under this tutorial 2. So you can just click on create and you can see it has created this very event under this library for us. So the next thing is we'll try to import our media. Okay, so you can import media by just coming over here and clicking on import, and you're going to see from your computer, you can navigate to wherever you have your footage. For example, I have mine under Final Cut over here, and I have this video, Spend Time with Yourself. I can easily select it and go ahead and import it, import selected from here. Okay, so you can import selected. One thing you should pay attention to is the different features: add to existing library, add to existing event. If you want this media or this video to go to this event, you can just click and it will just add it to this event. Or if you want it to go to this very event, you can add it, and then you can create a new event as well from here. Give it a name, and then you can save under that particular event. Okay, then the files, what happens is people did sometimes try to copy the file to the library, which is not really advisable most of the time. You can easily leave files in place wherever they are, and then you can just link them up in Final Cut, so it just works directly, which is my most preferred method. Leave everything in place, and then you can just link them up. Okay, so all other things I kept at default: the keywords, the analyzed video, the transcode. I keep everything, the codec, I keep everything at default. So I just go ahead and say import selected. So it's just going to import that particular video for us. So right now we have created a library, we have created an event, and then we've imported video footage over here. Okay, so the next thing is we can try to import the video. You can start to create a new project by just coming over here and just clicking on new project, and to prompt to this. Another way you can do it is you can still come to file over here, come to new, and then you can go to project. So once you click on project, it's going to bring you over here. So you have to give the project a name. So let's say this is basic editing of this particular footage that I'm working on, and you can specify this project to be under which event. So you can give the event, for example, I'm working on this footage on Spend Some Time With Yourself, and then you can have everything at default. If you want, you can leave everything at default, but if you want, you can see custom settings over here. Okay, by just clicking on use custom settings, you'll be able to specify the video format. Like 1080p is what I usually use, but you can go as far as 4K, 5K, 8K if you want, depending on how powerful your system is. And then you have the resolution. The format is 1920 by 1080, and the frame rate, I usually go for 30 frame rate per second. And then the rendering format is Apple ProRes, which is usually the default, and I like everything. The audio settings, I keep everything on the stereo and 48 kilohertz, which is the default. I keep everything at default. What I change is mostly the video format. So you can just go ahead and change it, and then go ahead and click on OK to create that particular project. So right now you can see now the timeline is being enabled, and you can just click on this video footage that you've just imported. You can drag around, you can drag it into the timeline and drop it just like so. And as you hover over it, you'll be able to see right now you have some sound, okay, which as you hover over, you're not supposed to hear. So to mute that, you can just come all the way here to this point and just mute this. And you can see now if I'm moving, I can't hear any sound. Okay, so as you hover over with this red line, you'll be able to see the preview of what is inside this particular video. And once you look down here, you'll be able to see the audio profile. Okay, so you'll be able to see the audio profile clearly, and you know where exactly you're talking and where you're not talking, and where you need to do some cuttings and all that. So this is basically how to create a project, to import the media and then to drag it into the timeline. And you can do the same movement with the playhead as well to have a preview of what is happening. So this is the playhead, and you can move across from left to right or anywhere, okay, within the timeline. And as you select any video clip, you will be able to see its properties over here: the blend mode, the opacity, the transform features, the position, rotation, scale, and in both X and Y axis, the anchor points, and the cropping feature, and all that you can find them over here. Any footage you click, any media you clip, you'll be able to see its properties over here, the effects, the effect controls. So the next thing is we are going to look at how to do some basic editing in Final Cut. Okay, so to edit footage that you have bringing into the timeline, there are different ways. For example, the first method is if you want to trim the video from the beginning. For example, I want to trim the video from the beginning to maybe this point. I want my video to start at this point. All I need to do is to hover over to the edge of the clip, and you can see my cursor just turn into this. I can just easily drag and you can see I'm trimming it up to this point that I plan, okay, up to this point, and I want my starting point to be here. I just release it, and what it does is it actually crop the other section of the video. If at any given point you decided you want some part of it to show, you can also come over here to the edge and just drag it all out again, and you can see the other sections are coming up. So that is one important part of trimming. It is not deleting everything, it is cropping it so you can easily get back to it much later. You can do the trimming from both sides. You can do on left and right. You can come to the right section. Also, you can trim as well. So this is the first part, trimming. The next thing is you can do some cutting. Okay, you can cut. So let's check the blade mode. The blade mode you can do by just enabling hitting on the letter B from your keyboard, and you can see it has changed to this scissor sign. At any given point you can decide to cut. You can see it has created a cut. You can decide to create a cut. You can decide to create a cut, and now it has split the whole clip into about 5 sections. So you can come down here and you can see the blade mode by just clicking on letter B, or you can go back to the selection mode by clicking on letter A, and you can see the section, the clip has been subdivided into about 5. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, into 4 sections. So you can see it has really cut the sections. By just hitting on the letter B to enable the blade mode, you can just cut at any given point, and you can hit on the letter A to go back to the selection tool, and you can select the different media and move them around to rearrange, and then you can have them maybe rearranged accordingly. Okay, so you can just move them across and rearrange them so you can have them properly arranged. One thing I like about Final Cut is as you select a given section, you delete it, it's going to do ripple delete. It's going to cover the gap that you've just created. So that's another way. Another quick way that, let me just undo some of these cuttings so that I can show you how to edit faster using the ripple edit. So in Final Cut, if you want to do ripple edit forward, for example, I enable the blade mode and just cut this clip at this point and go back to the playhead, and you can see I created a cut here. And what I want is, maybe I want to, at this point, I want to delete from here to this point, to this cutting point. So I can do that using the ripple delete mode. Okay, so to do that, you can hit on Option, the square bracket close to delete from here to here. So Option on your keyboard, on your keyboard, hit on the Option key and the open bracket, open square bracket, and you can see it has just created that clip, that cut for me. And if I want also from here, from the beginning to this point, I want to remove it, I can do Option square bracket open, and it's going to do that for me. Okay, so you can see pretty fast and interesting. So if I want from here to the other edge, let me do that again, Option plus square bracket close, and it's going to create that for me. So it makes editing pretty fast and interesting. So at any given point you want to create any given ripple edit or ripple delete, you can just do that, ripple delete right and ripple delete left. You can do that with the Option and the square bracket keys. Okay, this is very, very important and useful. So you can check out the other multiple features that you can have from here as well, like the selection tool, the trimming tool that we've just highlighted. You can do that with the letter T, the position tool, the range selection tool, and the zoom tool. You can do zoom in and out using the letter Z, and the hand tool for the panning and moving around. So this is basically how to do some basic editing with Final Cut Pro. Now the next thing is we'll try to bring in B-rolls and show you how to put in different type of B-roll, from images to videos on top of your footage. So as you are hovering over, as you are experiencing as you are playing a given video, at some point you can move in to show something, just something like this, as you just navigate from the main video into this B-roll to illustrate something, and then move back to the video and continue. So to bring in B-rolls, I have classified my B-rolls into different categories. For example, I have them arranged as B-rolls here. You can just click and you see I have videos, I have images over here, and when you go back here, I have videos that I put just for reference purpose, and as we are moving, you can be able to add them into the timeline. So to bring in B-rolls, all you need to do is to come to the media bin or the project panel over here and just right click and say import media. So you can just navigate to wherever you have them in your device. For example, mine, I have it in this desktop. You can just come down all the way here. So you can see Final Cut over here. So you can just go ahead and you can see my B-rolls. I can import them at the same time. So by just selecting I can select import selected, and it's going to import both the video and the audio. So you can see them arranged over here. The media are arranged separately. So to bring in a media into the timeline at a given location, for example, I want to bring in the media at this point before the starting of this. After this taking off this T, in the next one, I want to start with the B-roll. I will just drag it and drop it. So assuming I want to drag this image, drag it and drop it on the timeline, just like so. And then I can position it to make sure that I got it right at the right position that I want. For example, I want it to start somewhere here. So I can just select and use my B key to bring in the scissors tool or the blade tool and just make a cut here. And I can just bring back the selection tool by pressing the letter A and select this and delete. And then maybe I want this one also to last until here. And I can still do the blade tool, cut here, and then back to the selection tool, and then you can select and delete. So I have my B-roll situated around this. So once I start up to this, and then the B-roll comes in, and then it goes out back to the normal video. Okay, so this is how to bring in the first one. I can bring in another B-roll if I want. For example, the image of this guy, I can just easily drag and drop it here. And then I can just position it. You can use the command and plus sign to zoom in and out, plus or minus sign to zoom in and out, so that you can be able to see clearly what you are dealing with. So I can come over here as well and select this point, make a cut here, and make a cut here as well. And then back to my selection tool and then delete both of them. So I have my B-rolls around here located. Okay, so next is I can bring in the video as well if I want. So let me zoom out here. So I can select any video. For example, I select this video. I can just drag it and drop it on the timeline and then define the areas that I want it to come in. So for example, I can see it comes in here. I want this point when the girl becomes surprised here at this point. So I just make a cut. I press the letter B, make a cut here, and then back to the selection tool and delete this point. So you can see if I'm playing it, it's going to show that surprising point. And then maybe I want it up to this point. Okay, then I want to create another cut. So blade tool and make another cut back to the selection and then delete here. So you can see just like so, she went wow, and then back to the normal. Then I want to put the B-rolls as well at this point, another video. So just select the video and just drag and drop it on the timeline. So this is this small girls running. Okay, so they are running up to the end point. If you want it to, depend on how long you want it. I want it at this point to just stop here. So I enable the blade tool. I make a cut back to the selection, delete this. And then I have my B-rolls around here. So you can see just running and then back to the main video. Okay, so this is very easy and fantastic, and you can make your work very, very easy and nice, and you can bring in different impressions to your video and make it look very, very much professional. Later I will show you how to use transitions to actually make it look superb and fantastic. Okay, so this is how to bring in B-rolls into the timeline and continue with your editings in Final Cut. Now the next thing we're going to look at is how to add text into the timeline and then be able to preview it in the canvas and format it using the different text formats that we have in Final Cut. So to start with, all you need to do is to identify the place where you want to add the text. And you can just come all the way to titles and generators slide bar over here. You can see a bunch of different titles. You have from 3D to 3D cinematic. You can see them as you hover over. You'll be able to see the preview on the main preview windows. Okay, you can see the preview as you just hover over it. Okay, so you just be able to have an idea of what you are doing. This is 360 title. This is 360. This is 360. And this is built in, built out, in and out. Okay, you can be able to preview and see how it comes in and how it goes out. This is bumper opener. So as you hover over it, you'll be able to see the different features that it's likely to bring in terms of this. When you are trying to have a list of something, you'll be able to list them accordingly based on the subtitle that you have. Then you have credits. You want to give credits to someone somewhere, you just be able to put their name and the description and you just attach it. So you can have lower thoughts as well. I have a bunch of interesting ones over here. You just put in your name and the description. Okay, name and description, you can just see it very fantastically. So all you need to do is just to drag and drop. Okay, just to drag and drop. So if you want to go for simple titles, or if you have a specific title or text that you have in mind you want to go for, you can just easily go ahead and drag and drop that feature into your canvas, into the timeline. So for example, let's say we go with simple titles, and then maybe we can have something like this 3D, basic 3D. Okay, so you can just select it, drag it, and then drop it maybe at this intro point. You can just drop it, and then you can use the command plus the plus sign to zoom in and out to see in details of what you have. So once you drag and drop, you will be able to, you can come to the edges and you can extend the length, or you can shorten it from the edges to specifically define where you want the text to appear in your video. Okay, so you'll be able to, once you bring it in, you can select it and you have the properties over here, the basic properties that you need, you will have them. So let's say right now we can hide all, so we can just be showing them one after the other. So right now you have the normal, this is the normal text. Okay, this is normal. Once you click on this, you will be able to have the 2D effects, 2D styles. You can see different kind of styles, but once you take the playhead to that particular location, that's when you will be able to see the changes that you have. So for example, now the text is basic 3D. You can see it over here, basic 3D, but you can change it if you so wish. For example, you can say welcome to my channel. All right, so you can see welcome to my channel, and then you can check on the different style, 2D style. You can make it bold, and you can make it something like this. This is preset template. You can check and make it offset if you want it to be something like this, and you can see it has changed it to yellow, and that effect has taken effect. So you can see you can change it to this, any setting of your choice. You can change it to this. I think I kind of like this, and then you can go on your own to check out the 3D styles. You can have 3D styles also. This blue plastic is good. You can have basic 3D. You can check around and just put in any one of your choice. I kind of don't like this, so you can just check, come back here, and then maybe you go with basic 3D. I think this is good. Then you can maybe select the 2D effect and go with this condensed. I kind of like it. Down here you can have the text. You can put in any text of your choice, and then you have the basic editing features. You can click on show here to be able to show the basic editing features, such as the font style. You can see this is condensed, that we've specified at the top. You can check on any, and as you hover over, you'll be able to see the fonts changing on the text that you've inputted. Once you reach a particular one that you are interested in, you can just hit on it and it's going to take it up. You can see other features like the sizing. You can play around with the sizing. You can increase or decrease the size of the text accordingly as you wish. And if you want to go back at any given point to the default setting, you can always hit on this arrow and it's going to take it back to the default setting. Okay, and I think I kind of like it to increase this much in size. And then you can have the alignment. You can align left, right, center, and all that. You can put in the alignment and you can even justify accordingly. You have vertical alignment, you have line spacing. You can be able to increase or decrease the line spacing in case when you have more than one line of text and you have tracking issues. You can do all that. You can increase the baseline. You can move it to the top or to the bottom accordingly, or you can undo or bring it back to the default. And you can force the letters to go all caps, just like so. Everything now goes back to capital letter, and then, or you can make it all small letters. And then you can play around with the cap size also. You can make it smaller or you can make them bigger accordingly. So just feel free to give it a try and see what you can do. And then in terms of position, you can play around with the X, Y, and Z direction. You can see as you just select, you can move it to the right, to the left. This is on the x-axis. You can do the same on the y-axis. You can move it up or bottom, okay, up or down, just like so. You can play around with it until you are certain in the position. And then in the z direction also, you can play around with it accordingly. And in each case, you can always hit on the arrow to go back to the default setting. And then you have rotation. You can go ahead and rotate the image, the text accordingly. You want it to increase, to rotate, just like so. You can play around with the rotation on the x-axis. You can do the same playing with the rotation on the y-axis, and then you can play around with the same rotation also on the z-axis if you so wish. So it's something very, very nice and interesting because you have all the access to all the basic features that you need to carry out most of this basic editing. Then you have the scaling. You can scale to the x-axis, okay, and you can scale to the y-axis as well to make it a bit bigger, larger, and then you can scale to the z-axis as well, make it a bit bigger. So you can hide on these the basic ones, and you can go to 3D effect and show this. You can enable the 3D effects, and then you'll be able to have the depth of the text. You can increase or decrease the depth accordingly, and then depth of direction, you can do centered, or you can do forward, backward, you can do all that. The weight of the text you can increase or decrease just like so, make it thinner or make it thicker accordingly. Okay, then you have the front edge, you have the front edge size, you can do all sort of things. Then you can come to lighting. As you finish with the 3D, you can disable it or you can hide it. You can check the lightning, you can check increase the lighting intensity or decrease it accordingly. Okay, so you can check the lighting style and make it standard. Right now it's in standard. You can make it backlit or above or thereabout. You can just go ahead and play around with all this. Then we have stealth shadow. You can show it and then be able to see opacity. You can increase the opacity or decrease accordingly, and then the softness of the edges you can increase or decrease accordingly. Because we are using white color, that's why you don't see most of it. Then you have the environment. You'll be able to check out the different rotation, contrast, saturation, and all that from here of all your text. And then you have the material. In the material, that's when you change the actual color of the text. So let's say you're in materials over here and you can see the basic things. You make it shiny, or you can make it matte, or you make it textured. Okay, you can make it textured if you want, but I think shiny is doing a lot of a good job. And then you can check the coloration. You can change the coloration. You can just hit and you'll be able to navigate around to change the color accordingly. As you move around, you can see the color is changing on the canvas. Yeah, very nicely done. So as you hover over, you'll be able to check on the best color that suits you and that you're interested in putting. Then we have the glow effect. You can show the glow effect and be able to see you can glow with this color, yellow color, or you can glow with any other color of your choice. Okay, and you can see it's showing on the main text. You can play around with the opacity from here as well in terms of the glow effect, the radius nature, and the blurry nature. And on each case, you can either hit on this to go back to the default, or you can individually restore back to the default. And then you can have drop shadows. If you want to drop a shadow, you can show the details. You can see right now the shadow is black. You can change it to any color of your choice. You can select and then move around. For example, you can move around here and you'll be able to have the different color of your choice. And then you have the opacity, the blurry nature of the drop shadow. You can edit all these to your taste. And then the distance, you can see the shadow, and then you can play around with the coloration from here. Okay, and then you'll be able to see the actual drop in shadow. So you can reduce it, make it smaller, just to be able to be visible. You can change the angle of the shadow. You can make it the other way instead of this way. You can change it accordingly. So these are the very basic things you need to understand when it comes to text, adding text in Final Cut. It's rich with different kind of features, different kind of even presets that you can easily add and you can play around to experience and like it. So let's say we put in this text and you can just play it. Let's see, we play it. And then it goes out. So that's kind of perfect. And you can do the same thing with different kind of text like I've explained. So just feel free to go on to try different ones and see the one that fits your content and can send in the message that you want and give the professionalism that you want. But for this is how to give the basic editing, put in the basic properties to make it look professional. So that does it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, so the next thing is we'll try to look at how to add transitions and effects into our video footage or into the timeline to continue with our editing. So to add transitions, all you need to do is to come over here and click on this small icon called transition browser. You can just click on it and you can see a bunch of transitions. For example, this is cross dissolve. As you hover over any kind of transition effect, you're going to see the effect. Okay, so just hover over it and you'll be able to see the effect it's going to have on your video. So this is 360. You can check around and see a lot of them. Okay, so you can just see the effect. Just hover over any of them and you will be amazed. And this is blur effect. You can blur effect just like so, and you have different kind of dissolves from divide to cross dissolve to lights. You can have lights, lens flare, something like that. So there are lots of different kind of transitions that you can easily import and apply them into your video. So let's have a look at how we can apply different kind of transitions. For example, let's go back to all, and I want to insert this cross dissolve. So across this our text. So let's try to put it across this text. For example, we can just drag it and drop it somewhere. Okay, so we just drop it, and by default it applies the transition at the beginning and at the end of the clip. So let's try to look at the transition at the text. So at the intro, you can just see how it fades in gradually from the clip to the text, and then at the end of it all, it fades out gradually. It fades out, and you can do all sort of things with the text, with the effects. For example, you can select it, and then you can increase the transition, okay, the duration of the transition. And now you can see, if you preview, it's going to fade in much longer. For example, you can see it takes him longer time to fade in, and then stays on the clip, and then it fades out. So the longer or the shorter the transition has effect also on the way it's going to look on your main video. So usually you have to quantify and know exactly how you want it. If you want it to be long or short, you can still make it, and you can have other properties as well. As soon as you select a given transition effect, you can have the transition effect properties over here, like the ease in and out. Do you want to make it? Do you want to increase it or decrease it? You can do that all from here. Okay, how does it ease in and out? You can select, and then you can vary along the look of the video. You can change, and you can change the fade in and out. This is currently at S-curve. You can click to see other linear or 3dB features that you can add to your transition. So this is the first one, adding transitions to a text. We can equally add transitions to a video. For example, the transition between this our normal clip into this b-roll, we can add another transition. For example, we can just check around. Let's go to wipes. I kind of like wipes sometimes. See this effect? We can just drag and drop it on the video, and you can see it puts it at the bot end as well. So take a look at the transition. Can see from the main video into the b-roll, and then you can do the same as you move again out of the video. Okay, so you can see from the main b-roll into the main video, it just flips out or wipes out. So that's how to kind of add it. And you can extend the length as well by just selecting on the transition effect. You can see the properties as well. Direction, you want it to be right slant or you want it to be left slant, you can change all that from here. And then you can extend the period. Okay, the period of you can extend the transition period. So for example, instead of it to wipe faster, it now wipes slowly. You can see it wipes in slowly, taking much longer time. So it all depends on you. If you want it to be shorter, if you want it to be longer, you can just make it fantastically. So the same way. And if you don't want to have at the end of it all, you just want it to cut into the main channel, you can select and delete this particular transition. Very easy. So you can see it comes in, and then it goes out from the b-roll into the main video. So another place that I used to add is, for example, you can add also on this image the same way you add. You can just select just this circle, drag and drop. Okay, and you can see you can select it, and you can reduce the length of it, so it just becomes very small. So you can see you can play it on your own. So you can see the transition into the video and outside of the video. Very nicely done. So another place that I used to add transitions in my video editing is between clips. So for example, when you have two clips that you have separated, for example, this one and this one, I have these two clips that it moves from here to here. Or let me select another one. For example, this one, let me enable the blade mode and cut at this point because this is the same video. So within the same clip. So let's say I'm cutting at this point and I want to add a transition here between this clip that I have just cut. So all I need to do is to drag the transition. I usually don't add transitions between these kind of clips. All I need is just to zoom in on one of them. Okay, so for example, I select this one. Let me go back to my selection tool. I select this clip and just come to transform over here. You click on show over here, and then you can come to scale all. Okay, so scale all, you can just scale it to maybe 103 or 110, 110 is good. You can do it manually or you can just do it on your own, and just make sure it's a bit about 108 or 110. You can just add 110. All right, and hit enter, and then when you transit, you will now see the effect. Okay, so this one becomes a little bit glaring than the other one. Okay, so you can see it. So the movement is kind of physical. You can easily see it, and you can apply transitions at any given point based on your choice. Okay, so depending on what kind of transition you want, you can easily apply depending on what kind of content you are creating. So basically, this is how to use transitions and add transitions into your clips or video editing in Final Cut Pro. That does it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Now the next thing is to learn how to speed up clip in Final Cut Pro. So to speed up a clip, all you need to do is to select that particular clip that you want to speed up, and then you can come up here and see this small speed ramp, this small arrow, and you just click on this small arrow and you can see it. You can slow it down by 50%, or you can slow it down by 25%, or you can slow it down by 10%. However you want it, you can do it with Final Cut. And you can speed it up by 2 times the speed. Okay, at any video clip is at 100%. If you do 2x speed, it's going to go to 200%. If you go 4x, it's going to go 400 and 800 same way. Okay, or 2000 same way. Okay, so you can always come back to normal by just using Shift N, or you can just click and it's going to go back to the normal speed. And then you can hold or freeze the clip, and then you can do blade speed, or you can do custom speed, and you can reverse clip accordingly, or you can move from or reset a given speed, or you can check out a bunch of other speed effects. For example, automatic speed ramp from 100 to 200, or from 0 to 200 at the starting of a given clip. You can do all that from here, and you can do instant replay or rewind. You can do all that from here. So just feel free to go ahead and apply anything. So you can say, for example, this video, I want to slow it by 50%. Once you click on slowing it by 50%, you will notice that the length of the entire clip has increased. It's going to increase, and you can see right now you can move across, and this video is now in slow motion.
Students, but the question is,
now you can see it's definitely in slow motion. So assuming I want to create a blade and I want to make a cut at this point, and let's say I have my speed ramp over here and I want to increase it from 50 to maybe 60%. I can do that as well. So all you need to do is to go back to the selection tool by pressing on letter A, and then you can come to the extreme end. At this clip, the speed ramp is the slowing is applied, or the speeding effect is applied, which is slowed by 50%. If you want to increase or decrease, you can come to the extreme end over here and you can decrease it over here. And you can see you are slowing it down by 60%, or you can increase it and you make it faster by slowing it down by maybe 33% or 30%. So all these have effect, and you can do that manually on your own. Okay, so you can easily select that and come over here and do the editing accordingly. So basically, this is how to add speed ramping and speed up your clip in any way, however you want it. Make it faster or make it slower, or make it in any way as you want. Speed ramp from a given speed to a given speed. You can do all that from here, or rewind it accordingly. So feel free to give it a try and let me know what you think on the chat box. If you have any issues, I can help you to address all that. I think that does it for increasing the speed of a clip. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Now the next thing is to add music into our editing timeline, and you can import music from anywhere. In my own case, I usually go to Pixabay and then I download the music and then I import it. So let me show you how I do it. Just come to your browser and just type pixabay.com, and you can see over here you just specify what kind of media you are looking for. By clicking here, you can come all the way, you can see music and sound effects. For example, in my own case, it's music. I just click and I'm looking out for music. Maybe I put background music. I'm looking for background music, and then I just search directly, and you can see a bunch of them. Okay, so there are lots of background music over here. So you just play to have a preview of what it is. And these are royalty-free images, free music that you can use and reuse and even share with your friends. It's completely free to use. So you can just preview by just clicking on anyone. And once you're certain of any background music that you want to download, you can just go ahead, come over here and just click on download, and it's going to download it for you over here. So you just select it and put it on your editing profile, or you can import it directly. So in my own case, I'm going to import it from my Final Cut. So I come back to Final Cut, and to import any media, as usual, as I've showed you, is you come to file over here and just go straight to import, and then you specify media. You just navigate to where exactly you have that media file. So for example, in my own case, I have it in YouTube under this Final Cut tutorial. So I have it under Final Cut, I have it on music. So you just open this and you can see lifelike background. You can just select it, okay, and just come over here and say import selected, and it's going to import that video, that audio, that music for you directly. So what you need to do is just select it and drag it and drop it into the timeline, just like so. Very easy. And you can see it has just imported it for us as a music, as a background music. So usually to play a background music, you have to be aware of the sound volume effect. So you can play around with the volume. Usually, naturally, you can start by playing around with this line. Okay, you can increase the volume by just playing around with this line, increasing or decreasing accordingly, but you'll be able to see the profile. Some are getting red, some are getting yellow, but the key thing is to not allow your sound or your volume to peak to get to the red level. It has to be just between the green color as well as the yellow. So don't let it go into the red line, because it's going to peak and it's going to make your videos to look fantastic. So let's try to zoom out and see our video. So you can see we have the music up to this point. You can copy or you can drag the same audio and put it again. This is what I usually do. I usually drag and put it and then try to connect them. So after the first music, it's going to restart again, and then I drag again, I put it again on the other track. So after the third one, it's going to restart again. So what I used to do at this point is it exceeds the main video, so I can just go ahead, come to the extreme end over here, and you can see it has shown this sign. So you can just trim to the end and until it connects to my main video. Okay, so you can see it has just connected. Usually what I do in adding videos, in adding music into my track, is I used to have a fade in and fade out. I do apply that at the end of the clip and at the beginning. So to apply any fade in, once you hover over any music track, you can be able to see a small dot at the end over here. So you can just drag that small dot and move it around, and you can see it is fading your music. Okay, it is fading your music from whichever point the sound is going to go down at that point. So you can see it is going to fade out from that point. Whatever sound or whatever volume you are on, as you get to this point, is going to die down up to 0. Okay, so it's going to like fade out naturally. You can do that at the entrance as well. So you can come to the entrance, you can come hover over the clip, and you can see that small dot. You can just drag it and you can see you can fade in, and the volume is going to start from 0 until this point. It's going to get louder at this point, that is going to go back to 100. And alternatively, if you want to play around or increase or play around with the volume, you can just select the media. You can come back here to these properties. You'll be able to see the media over here. You can increase or decrease the volume also from here, and you can see it increasing or decreasing from the timeline over here. So this is another way to play around with the volume, and you can enable the audio meters as well if you want to be able to visualize your audio, how it is performing, by just coming to Windows over here and show in workspace, and you'll be able to show the audio meters over here. So you just click on audio meters and it's going to show that over here. So once you start playing your music, it's going to show the audio meter from the audio meter. So let's just select and hit on the space bar, and you can see. So what it does is it just show you the level of the volume. If you see it hitting the red sign, it means it's bad. So you have to play and try to reduce it from here. And you can see even from here, it's showing some yellow and red signs. If you look very closely, you'll be able to see that. But you can try to reduce it by coming here and just reducing the size over here. And then you try to play by observing the audio meters and see how far it is going.
When was the last time?
You can see this is quite okay because it's still within the green range. It doesn't get to the red line as we have discussed. So this is basically how to add the music onto the timeline. So sometimes you may want to mute the music and play around with the main video sound effect. Once you're done with the sound effect, then you can come and increase or play around with the background music effect. Okay, so sometimes you may want to increase the sound volume at a given point, and you may want to decrease it at a given point. Sometimes I do what we call I apply the range selector, or sometimes I cut at a given point. So for example, if at this point I want to I want to increase the volume of the music to go higher at this point, selected point. So all I need is I just come over here, select this point, and then enable the blade mode and just click to cut, and then click to cut at this point as well, and then I go back to the selection mode and I can increase my volume at this point. Okay, so between this point I can make the increase or decrease as accordingly as I wish. So this is one way. Another way to do it is you can undo the cutting, and I can apply the range selector by just hitting on the letter R to enable the range selector. So once you drag a given selected area, for example this area, and within the range selector you can increase or decrease the volume of that particular clip as you so wish. So this gives you a kind of control, because it even applies the keyframes at the entrance and exit, so you can feel free to play around with the keyframes, like such as the fading in and fading out, or putting in different kind of effects based on the keyframe. So it gives you that kind of control for you to play around and see what you can do. Fades in and it fades out using these keyframes. So you can do that at any given point by just hitting on letter R. You just select by just hitting on the letter R, it will enable the range selector. You just select and just drag across, and then you select that particular place and you apply the very effect you want to whether increase or decrease, and it's going to give you that very effect, not across the whole, but on the selected part of the selected portion of the clip. So this is a very easy way to kind of apply different kind of music effect on your music, and to play around with the volumes across the clip as you're editing your video. So I think that does it for adding music into the timeline or into your video editing. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. That does it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, so the next thing is we'll learn how to do color grading with Final Cut Pro. Okay, so to do that, we select any of the clip. For example, I have many clips here, and for you to do color grading on or color correction on any of them, you just select one of the clips and do your color correction over there. And then after you color correct it, you can now copy the properties into the other clips that you have. Okay, so let's say we select this one as the first clip that we want to color correct. So you can come over here to this small magic wand, okay, and you just come to this small drop down arrow and you just click on it. So the first thing I used to do is I do color balance or balance color. As you click on balance color, you can come over here and enable these property settings, and you can see it over here. So this is balanced color. You can uncheck this to see the difference. It's just a little bit of balance in the coloration, but it's very, very small. You can see it. I've unchecked it and I've checked it with color balance, without color balance, with color balance. I think it's kind of visible, but it's very, very small. So that's the first thing. It gives it a little bit of a balance, and then you check the method over here. You just click on this and make it white balance. Okay, so you just make it white balance, and you can come over here and make sure you select this color picker. You just identify a white position in the video and just make a click of it, and it will automatically change or adjust the coloration of that particular video clip according to the white balance. So it will identify that place as pure white. So you can select anywhere, maybe this place or maybe within the shed over here. Can just make a selection, and you can see it has given us a little bit of adjustment. Okay, so you have selected the white area and it has given us that change. All right, so the next thing is we move to the main color by coming to this small tab over here. We just click on this and you have a series of color effects that you can apply to your video. For example, down here we have the coloration, okay, where we have the global color, which is this one. Then we have the shadows, which is this one, the midtones and the highlights. So I'll show you how to edit and what effect all of these will have on your video clip at the beginner level. Okay, so next we have the saturation, which is the amount of color you have on your video. You can reduce it or you can increase it accordingly using these very different features. We have the global feature, or we have the shadows, midtones, and highlights. Then we have the exposure, the rate of exposure of the image. You can control that also from the global perspective. When you use these, you can increase or decrease, and you can see the global exposure is being increased, or you can bring it down to the barest minimum. You don't want to make it too much because it will be too dark. You just have to tweak it a little bit to some extent, and then you can play around with the shadows. Can increase or decrease the shadows. You don't want to make it too much. You just want to make it a little bit, just a little bit of the shadow increment. You can see the percentage, just 8%. I think is good. Then you can play around with the midtones. Okay, areas that are lighter or darker, you can make them a bit light, and then you can sometimes bring it down to minimize the exposure. Okay, then we have the highlights. You just make it a little bit lighter. Okay, so you can see it's now looking much more better and professional. All right, so the next thing is we have the color. Okay, so we can do the same with the color. On the global scale, we can play around with the coloration, and you can see we can make it a bit warmer, or we can come down here and change the coloration very nicely. You can see as you move around, you'll be able to see the changes at global scale. Okay, so but you don't want to go crazy with this. You just want to make a little bit of the touching. Okay, just very little difference. And then you can come out to the shadows and make a little bit of an adjustment as well. So just very little adjustment. You can see you can make the needed difference. Okay, so you can make the midtones as well. You can just vary it a little bit, because if you go too much, you can see it's getting colder, but then you can bring it back to warmer a little bit. And then you can come down to the highlights. Okay, the highlights also the same thing, just a little bit of the tweaking you can see can result to that particular change you are looking for. Then we go to the saturation. Okay, saturation also is the amount of color that is in the video clip, like we've just explained. So you can go from the global scale, you can make it saturated, meaning having too much color, or you can make it darker, which means if you come down to 0, it removes all the coloration. So you don't want to go this crazy with it, so you just stay a little bit at the middle, and then you play around with the other features like the shadows and midtones as well to increase the sharpness and the saturation in terms of the coloration. You just want to make sure you get it a little bit. Okay, so you can see from here we are getting it kind of perfectly. We don't want to go too much, but we just want to make it a little bit higher so it becomes a bit warmer. So you can see now, I think our image is now quite beautiful. Our video is now quite beautiful. So we have done that only to a particular clip. Okay, so this particular effect, if you want to copy it to the other clips like this one, all you need to do is just to come back here, right click over here, or just come back here and just come to edit and come to copy. So it's going to copy everything, and then you can highlight the remaining clips that you want to paste on. So for example, you select this one, you can hold down the shift key and select the remaining clips. Okay, with the shift key press down, you can just right click, or you can come to the same edit. Okay, so you can come to paste attributes over here. You just click on paste attributes, and what do you want to paste? We just want to paste the effects. We want to paste color board 1. We want to put everything effects and color board 1. That's what we want to paste, and once we click on paste, it's going to take in that particular difference, that particular changes that we've inserted here, and it's going to carry it to all the other clips that we have. So basically, this is how to do some basic color corrections and color grading to your footage using Final Cut Pro. Alright, so the last part of the tutorial is on how to export your video in MP4 format from Final Cut Pro. So all you need to do is to come over once you're done editing, you have checked in all the audios, you have checked in all the videos and you have done the color correction and color grading, you have done all the basic editing, you've added the b-rolls and all the other images and media that you wanted to put in, and you've done all the cutting and joining, and you're satisfied with the video, you don't want to export it. All you need to do is to come to file over here, and you can just come to share and just go ahead and to export file, and then you can come down here to settings. Okay, so from settings you will have format. Usually if you want to export in for your YouTube video, you can always go to video and audio, which is the best quality. It's going to give you a very good quality. Except if you want smaller quality, you can go with Apple devices, computer or web hosting. It can give you smaller quality and smaller size videos. But for this, and you can export video only or audio only if you want. But for this, and for the fact that I'm exporting for YouTube channel, I usually go for video and audio, specifying this as mastering. Okay, so you can just go for video and audio, and then the video codec you just select. You can leave it at Apple ProRes, and it's going to give you a very fantastic quality. But if you're going for YouTube, I recommend you go for H.264, which is the MP4 format. So you just select this, and then you can make sure the resolution is as set initially 1920 by 1080, and then everything now can be left at default. Okay, so you can come all the way here and click on next, and it's going to ask you to save in, give it a name. So we can just spending some time with yourself, and then you specify the position where you want this video to be saved. Okay, so let's say we are going with this my document, and then you can select a given location. So let's say we are selecting here, and we are giving it a new file. So you can just make it Final Cut export. So we just select and click create a new file, and then we save it inside, and you can see it has started the export. And if you want to see the percentage of the export, you can always come to this small circle over here. You just click on this, and you will be able to see the sharing option and how much percentage it is going in terms of the export. So you just wait for it to export complete, and then you can try to play it and see how much of the coloration or how much of the quality you have gotten. And you may want to play it in different devices to be able to get the performance as according to what you want. You can play it on the phone, you can play it on a tab, you can play it on your computer as well, using different kind of means, so that you can be able to see how it looks and sound on all of those devices. So basically, this is how to use Final Cut Pro for beginners purpose. So let's just give it some seconds to finish up, and then we can try to play it back and see what we have. All right, so right now it has finished, so you can just play it and see what you have. And I think it kind of looks cool because all of the features that I have selected, I have added, are already in there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.